SMT Nation, we back. We're going to be taking a look at this story from Mike Dano, and it's from lightreading.com. I will link it in the description for you. And it's titled, Here's What's Next for T-Mobile's Fixed Wireless Access Business. There are multiple parts to the story. I'm going to really dice them up and dissect them. So I'm going to go ahead and put chapter markers. I'll put those little, indicators, those segments to the video. So if you need to go back and re-listen to anything or look for a specific part for a detail, you can find that down there. Uh, Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. I've been using that in a lot of my recent videos. All right, so to get things started, let's first do an overview of the T-Mobile fixed wireless access business. This is essentially their 5G home. They also do it over LTE. The first generation beta that launched, it was an LTE box. They've been shipping 5G gateways ever since their 5G network went live, especially with the N41 launch. And things have been going really good for them. I don't think there's any way you can slice it. They are the name in national fixed wireless broadband. All right, 1.5 million fixed wireless customers in a essentially what, like a year of their actual commercial launch. Prior to that, it was beta. So things have been working really well for them. They're already starting to be considered one of the largest home internet providers. You know, if you look at the traditional ISPs, they're ranked technically ninth largest in the nation. They are the fifth fastest ISP with maximum speeds of 1.7 gigs per second, median speeds of 24 megs per second. That's one hell of a spread, folks. Because if you look at it, I mean, 1.7 gigs, that's probably their I don't know, whatever the width of the channel is, but it's their N41. And then the 24 meg, they're probably connected to some LTE, some older legacy gateways, but they're just behind the likes of Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, who have been in business for the better part of the last 20 plus years, even more, right? AT&T with legacy DSL, Comcast been around forever. So it's surprising, but it really shouldn't be, because as competitors come into marketplaces, the adoption rates are really good when people are looking for new options. Okay, so according to a friend of the show and Recon Analytics founder Roger Etner, he says both T-Mobile and Verizon enjoy the highest net promoter scores. People are happy with the service. They're trying it, they're satisfied, and they're keeping it. The retention rates are pretty good. It says here that the NPS scores have increased over the last 6 months. So he is quoted as saying, "This looks like not only a happy honeymoon, but a happy marriage." So the proof is in the eating. You get these customers, they try the service after leaving cable or DSL or whomever, and they like it. So they keep it. They'll continue to pay their bill happily so long as the performance doesn't degrade. You don't get a lot of downtime, works as it should, and they're happy to pay the fair, streamlined pricing. All right, so they continue to add those customers. T-Mobile eventually thinks that they'll be somewhere around the 7 to 8 million fixed wireless customer mark by 2025. Verizon believes they'll be between 4 and 5 million at that same time. I feel like both of these numbers are pretty conservative, meaning they'll be reachable, very reachable. I think they might even have some extra running room there as long as people continue to take to the service, and as long as the service continues to improve and T-Mobile and Verizon densify, add more capacity, and build out with more coverage with these upgrades. Them hitting these marks, I think, is very doable for them, easy. And then beyond 2025, I think they can continue to grow, albeit at a slower pace. Now, something that I think is really interesting is it says here, and this is recently, Mike Sievert, the T-Mobile CEO and president, and Neville Ray, the president of technology, were speaking at an Evercore analysis meeting of some sort, and they were talking about addressable markets. So this kind of connects to the concept that they want to reach more customers. So they're going to be looking for ways to improve the performance and efficiency of in-home CPE. CPE stands for customer premise equipment. That means gateways, and that means antennas and radios, all the stuff that they have to do. Like, to me, it even seems like they might be exploring point-to-point solution. All right, so up till this point, folks, really what they've done is they've sent gateways to people's homes. And it's always been about ease of use. They send you the gateway pre-installed with a SIM card. Everything's already activated. You just got to turn on the service. You just let them know that you're doing it. The easy setup process. Boom, 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 boom. You're set up in minutes, plugged into power and you're good to go. But what that does is you don't get the cleanest possible signal. So there is some running room here for them to improve the experience that customers have by improving the hardware that they send to them or the hardware that they set up on the premise. So as of right now, the simplicity of the gateway, for Verizon, they're putting millimeter wave gateways in Windows for like T-Mobile, and like with Verizon's like C-band service, you just get it near a window. It doesn't have to be mounted to the window. You can put it on like the window sill. You could put it on like, a desk on the upper level. You just want to try to get the gateway as high as possible to get the cleanest signal, get a nice, good quality SINAR, a nice good quality SRP, RSRP, and try to optimize the uplink and the downlink capacity as best as you can. But there are options, and it looks like T-Mobile is going to be exploring this. All right, so they're talking about, maybe improving on some CPE options, stuff that could be mounted to rooftops or something like that, stuff that could be a little bit more effective at improving the signal. That would be huge, folks, because part of the problem with the T-Mobile service has been the low quality gateways, in my opinion. The trash can, the Nokia trash can, was a nightmare for me. I returned it. I canceled service partly due to the tower site problem, but then also the gateway wasn't very good at all either. And I think that's probably something they're going to explore. And then just in nature of the gateway, maybe doing something different, right? I think having additional point-to-point hardware, doing it like traditional fixed wireless, while that may make it more complicated, it makes it better, right? Improving the signal quality. And now, one of the things I think we have to make sure we mention here, this is probably the biggest thing in this announcement. Management was more positive on the prospects for using the company's millimeter wave spectrum assets as a tool to deliver fixed broadband service than we had heard in the past. Folks, this is huge. We have been very, very vocal about T-Mobile's extreme disdain for millimeter wave for their mobile network. They literally painstakingly will put millimeter wave nodes on some random macro sites only because they have to. Like, they really don't want to do it. Uh, but they have to. And I think they know they have to, but they are really trying to avoid it as much as they can. But they are starting to see, I think they're starting to see the light that millimeter wave solutions could be a far more efficient and cost-effective way if some things work out for them. So it mentions here vendors and standards and multi-point fixed applications. I think this is really wise of them. I mean, maybe it just took them a while to kind of figure things out, but holy smokes, like, they're finally seeing the light. You're going to do fixed wireless access. You're sharing your mobile network with your fixed wireless access network. You are going to have to add hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of megahertz of spectrum to these network applications because you're selling home internet. Those are data intensive connections. This is no joke. Now we're starting to see why Verizon is doing what they're doing. All right, Verizon is not only supporting their mobile network, but they're also supporting their fixed wireless access networking for people with home internet. And of course, Verizon is doing it through millimeter wave antennas on both the street level, putting it close to to people's premises. They're putting it close to like the apartment complex, condos, multi-dwelling units. But they're also putting on macros too. And T-Mobile, I think they're probably not going to want to put stuff on poles. It doesn't look like they want to really do small cells. They're probably going to try to stick to, roof mounted sites, probably going to stick to monopoles, the actual macros, the big towers where they can just put up the millimeter wave nodes too, because that's going to keep their costs down. They won't have to say like make deals with, the fiber providers, the ILECs in the area to get connectivity to nodes that are secondary, right? They can just run everything through their macros because they have to lease that space, right? They're not going to be owners, they're going to be leasing. They're going to have to get more fiber operational expenditure, right, and costs. So that's probably more likely what they're going to do. But in my opinion, guys, this is just my opinion. I'm very happy about this. I'm glad they're at least exploring the possibility of supporting their fixed wireless access customers, their home internet customers with millimeter wave, because they're going to learn, and they've already started seeing this, guaranteed, and that's why they're having this conversation. People have, and the investors have said to them, look, you want to do this home internet thing. You know that capacity is a finite resource. What are you doing with millimeter wave? And they probably told them exactly what they wanted to hear. We're going to go ahead and increase our addressable consumer base, right? We're going to try to reach more households, and we're going to try to create more capacity so that the customer base is supported and they don't have I guess, a decreased user experience. All right, millimeter wave is the most cost effective way to create things like gigabit services, folks. I know a lot of people are down on millimeter wave, and that's fine. I'm not here to argue how they feel about it, but regardless of how you feel about it, the data is out. The most cost effective way to properly network in 5G is a collection of tools, technologies, and strategies. And a big component of that is millimeter wave. Because when you have 10, 25, and 50 gig circuits, high capacity circuits, well, what do you have those for? What, so you can put a couple of hundred megahertz of midband on air? No, you put a couple hundred megahertz of midband and you put 1,000 megahertz of millimeter wave on those suckers if you're really trying to create a comparable home internet option for people to compete with the likes of cable and fiber. Literally, what you're doing when you do millimeter wave home internet, you are making wireless fiber. That is essentially what you're doing. And you're probably going to drain your mobile network of capacity if you're relying solely on midband. No company has enough midband to truly support that, especially long term. I know here in the article it talks about how T-Mobile has a lot of 2.5, and it talks about how they've supplemented with some additional C-band. All that's fine and dandy. Folks, they have like 40 or 60 megahertz of C-band. What are you going to do with that? You're going to add an additional 500-600 megs? That will deplete very quickly with fixed wireless access. And don't forget, the primary consumers on the T-Mobile network are mobile connections, and they grow. T-Mobile has a growing consumer base. They take share from AT&T and Verizon and all these companies. They add customers all the time, and that Magenta MAX plan is a very high capacity plan, right? It is very data intensive. Just look at the data, right? The numbers. Most Magenta MAX customers are using over 30 gigs per month, probably closer to 40 or 50 gigs per month. Well, you keep adding customers to that plan, those usage rates continue to increase. Folks, the average consumer is using between 12 and 15 gigs per month. So a Magenta MAX customer is like 3 customers on the network in just one plan, right? So as those demands grow, and you look at this here, right? T-Mobile has 560,000 fixed wireless net adds in Q2 22. I expect T-Mobile to have an even bigger Q3. This number in Q3 is probably going to be over 600,000. Would I be shocked if it went over 700,000? Maybe that's a little much, but I think 600,000, 630,000 is a shoo-in. They're probably going to get that. You cannot have this kind of growth, mobile and fixed wireless access, without digging into the possibility and the investment into millimeter wave. And I'm glad they're finally, seeing the light, and they're looking at it, and they're sharing that with the investors, and we'll see if they take it seriously. The only disappointment I have, folks, is that they're only going to do it from macro sites. It's really not the best way to use millimeter wave. The best thing for millimeter wave is get it as close to the user equipment as possible. So I would like to see them pivot that a little bit. That will improve the connection. That'll clean up the RSRP. That'll clean up the SINR. It'll improve the connection strength, and that will probably improve the uplink especially, right? But there's some flexibility, folks. They can do like midband for uplink and stuff. Like there's some things they could do that'll address this. But look, I'm happy with that so far. Not all perfect, but it is a move in the right direction for sure. And then of course them exploring other gateways and stuff, that they're just doing their due diligence, trying to create a better consumer experience on their network. So this is all good. Guys, this is a huge update from T-Mobile. Massive. Very excited about this. I hope their T-Mobile fixed wireless access product continues to improve. I hope it continues to grow. I love what they're doing. shaking things up with big cable and fiber and all of that stuff. So they're serving people, they're serving customers. I couldn't be happier. This is great news. Huge day and huge update from T-Mobile. Comment down below on anything that I discussed in the video. Remember, there's chapter markers if you want to go back and discuss those points. Let me know. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, subscribe for more. Turn on that bell notification icon to never miss an upload. Links in the description for my Twitter handle, my Gmail address for all business inquiries, and my Patreon page is there as well. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Peace.